public spaces such as churches and airports. And remember, once the whole system is set up, it's as easy as drag and drop.
Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Greg DeSell from TechNec. Thank you for joining us as another part of the Webinar Tech series as we welcome our partners from Blustream. TechNec is the US distribution point for Blustream products. We've set aside about 30 to 45 minutes for today's presentation and time at the end for a Q&A session. Please take note of the Q&A section of your Zoom control panels for any questions. Of course, let us know too if you're experiencing any technical issues with the video or audio. We are proud to introduce the Blustream line here in the US. It's an award-winning series of HDMI distribution products from HD Base T and proprietary video over IP solutions, plus a series of Dante audio integration products and a little bit more. But we're most impressed with the Blustream, what they call the drag and drop TV. And here to tell us more about it are Jason Fitzgerald and Jason Dominique. Welcome, gentlemen, and thanks for being here. Please introduce yourselves and tell us more about the Blustream line.
Thank you, Greg. I'm Jason Dominique. I'm the sales director for Blustream. And of course, Jason Fitzgerald, he's our product expert. Want to thank you guys for being here. Obviously, it's very important to us. One of the things that we like to do as a company is, our compass is pointed to the customer. And when I say that, that's part of who we are and what we are. With Blustream, I don't know if I can share my screen or not on here.
Should be able to, yep.
Let's see if I can do that. Where the button is on this with Zoom, it's different than the Teams. So, there we go. So I'll just share a couple slides here, and then I'm going to let Jason take over because most of this is on product. But essentially, hopefully you can see my screen. All right.
Yep.
All right. So where we are, we got our start essentially 7 years ago in Australia, being a need to fit a void for a lot of customers on the commercial side of the business. People build products, and it's basically for a niche application or a specific requirement that is needed, and you buy that, you pay that price, and whatever it is, and there's really not much else that it's doing. It's fitting that need for those commercial applications. For the residential side of the world, you have a lot of products that are fitting a certain price point. It does a feature, it hits a price point, and it's kind of broadly out there. Sometimes you may not have quite the reliability there in some of those avenues because it's hitting a price point. And on the commercial side of it, it's a certain feature, and it's really, that's the price, and that's really it. And it's limited to what you can do. Blustream figured out there's a niche in between of really good quality, very reliable product, easy to set up, easy to operate. And then also on the commercial side too is added value features, items that might have 2 or 3 other things that this will do for you to simplify your install, to give you better performance, better operation, better function for the projects that you're doing. We know that your customer, you could be doing a sports bar, hotel, restaurant one day, and then the next day you're doing an education facility or a hospital, and every application and every package can sometimes change. So the products change. So we want to be able to fit that bill for you. We're a full family of products. So we got our start in Australia. We're a global brand. So we're in the UK, we're in EMEA, we're in other parts of the world. But our cornerstones of our company is features, reliability, and price, which basically is value. But for us, we want to be the better value performance features for you. And in doing that, our little 5-minute elevator pitch, I'll cut it down to less than that, is effortless, innovative, infinite, and integrated. And in doing that is we can do everything from a large home to a small city. If you're watching the Olympics right now, you're going to see our product is being used at all the different venues at the Olympics. And that's a big feather in our cap. So if someone says, hey, where's this product being seen? Well, it's on NBC tonight. You can watch some of the different places. They're sending video back and forth to those facilities using our product. Innovative, we want to bring you the latest technologies. We don't want you to be the guinea pig of technology. We want to bring out solid platforms for you. But effortless, and it's effortless, it's ease of installation, ease of operation. It's going to lead to fewer tech calls, improved customer service, and less product returns. And that's one of the things that we want to try to do for you, because every installation company, every installer, you know how long it takes you to do a project time-wise, hanging a TV, putting sound in. And if we can improve that timeline and streamline that, that increases your profitability as a customer, as an installer. So, and then integrated, we offer a broad mix of third-party brands. These are just a few of them that are primary ones. Control4, Savant, URC, Crestron, Elan, RTI, and QSC. So we integrate with most of these brands, and soon to be possibly another brand that you might be hearing about too. But right now, we want to integrate and work with these companies. All of our driver information is on our website. We try to be a very transparent company to give you the tools that you need to be successful in your business. And the thing that you're going to get with us too is you're going to get our ear. If there's certain things you need from us, email us, call us, let us know. We're here to help you. This is kind of our resume. So as I mentioned earlier, we did the Olympics in 2021 this year, but we did the South Korea Olympics in 2018. So it's kind of a back-to-back Olympics that we did. But we're also in Harrods Department Store in London, Heathrow Airport, London's Gatwick Airport. We're in Bloomberg Media, Virgin Media. The three that always stand out for me, though, was the Bank of Ireland, number 10 Downing Street, the Prime Minister's facility in London, and the 2018 Olympics. That's pretty big, because in those you have to be very safe, very secure, very reliable, and you have to do that. And that's exactly what we've done. And a lot of people love our product and they swear by our product. And it's kind of become the choice, the selected brand for video projects with a lot of customers. So for you, this is one of the applications. We don't have the one for 2021 yet, but basically we did 100 multicast transmitters in 2018 to 800 multicast receivers to 16 venues over single fiber network. So this is a pretty big operation. The new one, Jason, is 200 transmitters to 1,500 receivers.
200 transmitters to almost 1,500 receivers. Yeah, all running over video over IP. Yep.
Yeah. So that's a pretty big deal. This is one of the images that we had from 2018. If you're looking at social media, if you find us on LinkedIn, you'll see some of the pictures and images of our team there. We actually sent a team to support the integrators that were doing the project for the Olympics. This is a 2020 Connected Awards in Australia. We were rated one of the best for audio embedder, video scaler, multi-room AV distribution, and matrix switchers. This information is on our website too, but we have a really good following with our customers in the UK, in Australia, other parts of EMEA, and soon to be more in the United States. So for you, how do we make the job easier for you? We're going to give you 24/6 global tech support. If you call tonight at 11 o'clock, you're going to get our Australia team. You call at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, you're going to get our UK team. If you call right now, you're going to get our Minnesota team. So you either get a thick Australian accent, thick British accent, or a thick Minnesota accent. That is our in-house team. And if they don't know the answer for you, they're going to know the answer for you within 2 or 3 hours as each of the channels open up. Dedicated email support, worldwide training events, road shows, also live chat features on our website, interactive monthly webinars. And the nice thing about our webinars too, we also record them. So if you can't make it during those times, we'll actually record it so you can go back and watch it later. But 2 big critical areas for you that's a tool for you is our Blustream video portal. It's on our website, but it's also on the YouTube channel. We have over 100 different videos on our website to help you educate you and your team on our products. But the best part is the Blustream Advanced Learning Portal. That is 37 different individual training modules. Some of them are brand specific, some of them are technology specific. And in doing that, what this basically does is designed to give you the tools to help install and program and set up our product, but also to give you a better overview of the function of different technologies, 4K, HD-based-T, CEC, any of the technologies that you need to learn, or as in many cases, if you're an integrator, I would imagine that 95% of everybody on this call today are trying to hire good technicians. And you want to try to hire good technicians and you want to make them great technicians. This is a free service we have. So if you want, you can go to our website at blustream-us.com and sign up for the Advanced Learning Portal. It's a great tool for you. I've been surprised by how many people have signed up for it, not just signed up for it, but completed the classes. So it's 37 different modules. If you want to incentivize your sales or your installing team, give them a little bonus or an extra if they, $25, $30 or whatever for every module they take, because there's a course at the end of each one, about 5 to 7 questions. They take those courses. It's a really effective tool for them. So with that, you saw our video over IP drag and drop video. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to let Jason take over and talk about the multicast video over IP product.
Hopefully everyone can hear me all right. Am I coming in okay?
We can hear you.
All right, perfect. So I will go ahead and take over and share my screen here, JD. All right. Okay, so Let's talk about this. So Blustream is a lot of things, right? And there is an extensive number of products that help support Blustream, but one of the most exciting and the one that we'll talk about probably primarily today is going to be about video over IP. So what is video over IP? I'm sure many of you are familiar with what video over IP is. And to talk about this, and again, just to take a step back a little bit, to be a good signal distribution company in this business, right? You have to be able to cover, as a company, the 5 tenets, or what I like to call the 5 pillars of AV signal distribution. This is, of course, to extend, split, switch, matrix, and, of course, convert. And sure enough, Blustream has a number of products that cover each of those categories. Of course, we have a large number of extenders that are available to you, splitters, switchers, and especially matrices and HDBaseT matrix products as well. Now, when you start combining some of these individual categories together, so if we take a residential application, for an example, and we combine the capabilities of a matrix and extender, which are two of the probably most common needs in that installation type, you start looking at more application-specific products. In conference rooms, right, if you combine the switching capabilities, the conversion, right? Because we're typically coming in from all sorts of different types of formats and then switching between those and likely having to extend out then to a display. Combining those gives us like a presentation or switching product. So video over IP, to kind of bring this all back together, gives us all 5 of these capabilities within a singular product line. Right, so within the IP200 series of products, which we'll talk about here first, is the ability to extend, switch, split, matrix, and of course convert. So the easiest way to also talk about video over IP is to think about a matrix, right? Video over IP really is, in a sense, decentralized or a decentralized matrix, right? Taking the inputs and the outputs and separating that out into individual pieces that, of course, then we can distribute freely. And this is something that we consider a new area of video distribution, right? It gives us the ability to create systems of virtually almost unlimited size, where we're also not confined to this, typical squared IOs that we find in traditional like matrix products. So you can build out, for example, in a digital signage in a retail outlet, you could do a 2x20 or 2x100, right? It expands the capability and scalability of what we can do from an installation standpoint, which also gives us the ability to kind of ad hoc change systems as we need. So if we're adding displays, adding sources, we can do that very easily. So the other de facto standard, of course, when we talk about signal distribution, is very likely HDBaseT. Now, multicast versus HDBaseT is something to consider, because there are still very, specific applications where both products shine, where they're certainly going to be applicable. So you can see some of the pros, and what's called them pros and cons, is to using one system over another. We get a lot of scalability with something with video over IP. However, when it comes to doing, let's say, point-to-point, needing full bandwidth HDMI, HDBaseT still takes the cap in that regard. Latency as well. Well, our system, we can do 1 frame, which is about 16 milliseconds of video, delay is what we're looking at here, is going to be pretty much non-existent when you're talking about HDBaseT. So again, both technologies still certainly have a place. What you'll find is the Blustream catalog carries a large number of HDBaseT solutions, because it is still primarily the most de facto, technology being used to send a signal from point A to point B. However, multicast is taking over a large part of this business, especially when it comes to matrixing. Now, there are other modes that the video over IP system can, basically utilize, and we'll talk about some of those. But matrixing is probably the most common. Now, the system as it stands today for the IP200 series really comes down to 3 different products. We have a transmitter, we have a receiver, and then a controller, which basically is the device that'll help manage this traffic and tell where the routes are going to go, and also gives us a nice point of interface for a control system. Looking at the transmitter here, you can see that we've got a number of different input and outputs that we can utilize. We have HDMI input, which is where the source is going to come in. We have bi-directional IR, which means we have the ability to communicate, IR signaling input and output. RS-232, which of course is bi-directional in that case. We also have the ability to break out audio as well. So if you have an audio distribution system, or back at the head end or at the rack, we're going to want to distribute that over an audio matrix going to multiple zones. You can break it out directly from the transmitter, right, which is going to grab that audio from the incoming, audio or HDMI source. USB is also part of this system, which opens up a wide array of applications when it comes to things like doing workstation management, right? We need to extend a keyboard and mouse, for example, or something for digital signage, like an interactive display, typically being done over USB. We have that capability here as well. On the receiver side, very similar in terms of what the I/O capabilities are. However, of course, you'll see the USB-A outputs on here so you can connect those devices, and an additional loop out port. So what is that loop out port for? Well, so for example, if we're using something like in digital signage and we want to send a signal from one display to another, instead of having to do home runs back to a switch, which is how the system typically operates, you can loop out the video from receiver to receiver to receiver and daisy chain that signal without having to do home runs, right? There are other use cases for this, for example, when we do things like video walls, which this system is fully capable of handling. One of the more unique aspects of this product as well is the fact that all of these different IOs or inputs and outputs are able to be freely or independently routed. So what does that mean? That means that I can separate the audio from the video or the control signaling or even the USB and independently route that. So if you think about this, this is multiple matrices in a singular system. And there's a number of different uses for how this can be done. So for example, the one I like to talk about the most is, let's say, in a sports bar application where we have a number of different displays, maybe even a video wall, and you've got different content, different games running on each of those screens. But at some point, you're going to show maybe on the video wall the Super Bowl, right? A large game or some event that you want the audio to be distributed evenly around the system, right? So you can separately route the audio from all the different receivers to that same source and play the audio out of those speakers, out of the TVs, right? While still keeping the video independent of that system. For control systems, right, being able to route control back to one transmitter gives us an extremely powerful ability to be able to hook up a controller, let's say it's Control 4 or Elan or RTI, right, directly to one transmitter, and then send that signaling, whether it be IR, RS-232, to all the displays without having to configure or send it to multiple transmitters, right? We can freely and just tell all the IR and serial to point then back to that one transmitter where we're plugged into.
Hey, Jason.
Yeah, go ahead,
Just
JD.
real quick, can I just interrupt? By the way, too, Jason and I both talk fast because we're trying to put everything in 1 hour.
Yeah.
So we'll slow down some and try to stay on pace for you, but we try to cover a lot in here. One other thing too.
Was that going a little quick there?
Well, I talk fast, he talks fast, so we'll slow down. But the question, one thing I was going to ask too, in the chat feature, we're trying to cover a couple of really cool items, but if there's certain areas that you would like us to talk about or address, please put it in the chat comments so we could kind of get some feedback, because what we'd want to do is maybe try to focus on some of those towards the latter part of the presentation. Because right now we're talking about kind of the hot, really the items that we're getting a lot of demand for and requests for. So please give us your feedback on those other product categories, because we want to try to address that in a few minutes. Sorry. Thanks, Jason.
Oh, no problem. So yeah. So the multicast system really kind of functions among these 4 modes, as we call them. So the most commonly used application or mode is going to be, of course, matrix distribution, which is, of course, many to many. So multiple inputs to multiple outputs. And here again, we see, for example, really where that tipping point is for systems is typically beyond an 8x8. In fact, what you'll find is the Blustream limit, we do carry systems of, a lot of matrix and matrix extension products that run up to 8x8, where the really cost effectiveness comes into this is when we start seeing some of those larger systems, or in systems that are imbalanced, or we have a large number or differential between IOs, right? A large number of receivers, maybe that is going to be, eclipsing the number of transmitters that we may be using in installation, like a 2x50 or 100 or something like that. So the other operating mode is, of course, a video wall, and I mentioned this a second ago. Well, these units are fully capable of operating as a video wall, and our system allows us not to only create one, but of course multiple video walls, all managed through the same application, right? They're the same interface that we're using to set this system up and also manage this, which is our ACM, which we'll talk about here in a moment, is going to give us that capability to build it out simply, right? And also manage that. There are other modes, one-to-one. You can use this basically as an extender from point to point, and of course one-to-many, which is like a splitter, using that loop out or cascading on the output side that we have of those receivers. The system itself is based all around multicast. Now, without getting too technical in this, but multicast really gives us the ability to basically control the amount of traffic that's happening over our network. Remember, the network is going to be our primary, let's call it the switching fabric that's going to host all of our devices. Now, the multicast will allow us then to take multiple inputs and, of course, with multiple outputs, and multicast helps separate this traffic out so that things particularly aren't going to be flooding anything else on that network. So it's only going to be sending traffic where it needs to, right? Now, how all of this is controlled is, of course, using our ACM 200 or advanced control module. So this is what it is right here. So you'll see we have that drag and drop interface. We saw that video at the beginning of this presentation. It gives us this interface. It also allows us to set up this system really in a matter of 6 clicks. Right? It really is that simple to set the system up. We aren't expecting people to be network specialists to have to set up this system. The way the system is designed is very simply, you do need to do some matrix or network configuration, which is typically done in a few clicks or radio buttons that you have to enable. Or in some cases, when we talk about Netgear, for example, have some switches, particularly their AV switch line, that gives us full, basically, setup for this entire video over IP system out of the box. Right? So the ACM with its control module, you'll notice, has 2 separate network interfaces, right? It's got a video and a control LAN. Now, why do we have this? Well, it's very important to understand that the amount of bandwidth that we put on this network gets close to about 1 gigabit per endpoint, right? Or 1 gigabit really per transmitter that we have on this network. And the reason we have 2 interfaces is that one will go to our control network. So if we have an existing network, you're going to be able to connect to this from that control port where you host your control system, right? Or where you're going to access the control module or the ACM from a web browser, from your phone, from your tablet. Any of those interfaces or any of those devices can access the ACM. So you can manage your system and get that wonderful drag and drop interface. The video over IP port then is separate. And this gives us the ability then, of course, to segregate or separate the video traffic from our control or existing network. This means you have the ability then to specify the network switch you're going to be using. So if you're going into an installation where you're dealing with, let's say, a corporation and they're using a particular network switch, which very likely could work for the system, we don't want to introduce a ton of traffic onto that network. And then in this case, we also don't have to be a specialist in whatever network switch that you happen to be using. You can specify the switches that you're currently selling or using or comfortable using, and the setup, like I said, is extremely simple. So in that case, you're going to run your system separate. Off the video port, specifying your own switch, and that's where all the devices will sit. Now, on the opposite side, and typically we see this in smaller systems, you can run this on a singular network. And in that case, we typically recommend that you VLAN out the system so your control and your video traffic stay separate and can be managed as easily as possible. But the primary way that the system will be set up is like this, right? Basically linking independent video distribution on one side and then keeping the control on the second side. So the system sets up from a switch standpoint very simply, right? It requires these few things that you see on screen now, right? Jumbo frames, which is basically large packet support. We need a layer 2 or an advanced layer 2 or a layer 3 switch. Basically something designed for multicast, which, let's face it, today, now most every switch that we see out there has these capabilities, right? Any managed switch. Ubiquiti, D-Link, Package, Netgear, Zyxel, Cisco, TP-Link, Luxol, Rackness, all of these we do support. In fact, on our website today, we have a list of all the currently supported switches that we know and we have tested. You can look that up straight on our website. And for everything that we do support, we have these. Switch guys. Like I said, we don't need everyone to be network specialists. However, because there is some configuration that needs to be done, we make it as easy as possible. You can download guides for each one of these switches, which shows you very visually how to set up these switches from step to step. And in many cases, like the Cisco guide you see here, it's a matter of setting checkmark boxes for 3 different functions. And that's pretty much it, right?
Jason,
now,
we
let's
have
switch gears a little bit and talk.
that came in.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
If you wouldn't mind. The question was, how many receivers can you loop or daisy chain, and does each receiver, can it get a signal from a different transmitter?
So the thing we have to consider, and I'm going to pop back here and look at the receiver for a second. The technical number of receivers that we can daisy chain to, I don't want to say infinite, but it is a very large number, probably large enough to support anything that you may need, because this is an integrated switch basically on what's connected to here. Now, as when we talk about individual sources, this is something from a bandwidth perspective that we have to consider. We typically say, no, this needs to be the same content that runs from point to point to point. In other words, we just replicate that data from one basically interface to the other, and then that continues on throughout the chain. Now, if we're using a low bandwidth input like a 1080p source, we can probably technically support 2, maybe 3 of these individual streams. Because remember, no matter what, that port only has a maximum bandwidth, full duplex at 1 gigabit up and down. So with that, if our 1080p signal is consuming about 300 megabits, then that means that we can probably fit 2 on there reasonably well and send 2 different signals across this link. Right? But typically it's going to be 1, right? In most scenarios. And if you're using 4K, which the system is fully capable of doing, then definitely it's going to be 1, because in that case, we're consuming anywhere between 600 and 800 megabits of traffic. So it is a lot. But the reason there's a lot of bandwidth on here is because the picture quality, of course, demands this, especially if we're doing something in the 4K realm. All right.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, any other ones? If you have questions, definitely, put them in there and we'll take them as they come. Or save them for the end. We can do that too.
For the moment, so.
Okay, perfect. All right, so this, like our transmitters, they all power off of PoE, and they consume a paltry 4 to 6 watts apiece, right? And that's the amount of power that's requiring, which means we don't need separate power bricks, right, or separate power supplies to power these units. Now, the great thing about that is, with PoE set up, most switches nowadays, even standard ones that support PoE, not necessarily even PoE plus or plus plus, are going to be able to power these units with ease and without issue. And if you are doing that daisy chain like we talked about, in that case, you will need to power each successive receiver with a power supply in that case, because we aren't transmitting any kind of power from one port to another. So the first unit will of course get power, but every subsequent unit will need its own power. Okay, so we talked about network, we have switch guides. Let's talk about control, right? So when we talk about control, we need to make this as easy as possible for you guys to integrate into systems, which means third-party control drivers. And we have the number of them for all the popular RTI, Control4, Elan, Crestron, Savant. All of these multicast drivers are available today right off the website to integrate into any of those systems. And we're constantly, as JD mentioned earlier, upgrading that. In fact, we just included QSC for our video over IP system to help integrate those products into that system. In terms of things like accessories, right? Of course, we have the ability to rack mount these units. In fact, we have a 2U height 4 unit, which will take a transmitter or receiver, however you want to do it, into a nice little accessory that plugs in, of course, then into a 2U rack space. In terms of applications, video over IP, as I noted earlier, is all 5 tenets, right, of signal distribution rolled into a singular product line, which means they really can be applied in a lot of places. We've seen a large uptake in the recent years going into residential applications, especially large residences, mid-sized luxury homes as well, high-end homes, because of the fact that it's so versatile and gives us such an amount of differing I/O with the ability to independently route in those scenarios. But of course, other things can certainly apply, like commercial informational display systems. Here you can see the New York Stock Exchange. This is certainly like a digital signage application, just like this one here as well. This is a perfect example to show you how we might daisy chain that signal from point to point. Instead of doing home runs of all these back to the rack or back to the switch, here we can of course then just transmit one signal from a display, and maybe even, like we say, skip 1 or 2 in this case, but we have that ability to daisy chain that signaling. Command and control centers, right, or data rooms, right? This is an excellent application where we typically see a large number of displays, but a lot of times that configuration is going to need to be changed. So in other words, sometimes you may want to show a singular source up on multiple screens, and at other times you want to work them individually. This system is fully capable of operating in either of those modes, and it's very easy. In fact, I'll show you here in a minute how all this gets put together and how really easy it is, right? And of course, entertainment, hospitality, bar, restaurants is a very common application. I love showing this one because it shows you, hey, we've got a couple of video walls going. Of course, you can loop the receivers in on this together, so you don't have to have 4 different receivers that are going to require home runs in this. And then we've got a number of displays working on their own. Now, the other good thing about this system, or let's just talk about the other good thing about Blustream in general, is the fact that we have so many other products that help support each other in this regard. So a system like this, where very likely we've got displays on the other side of this that are going to be showing the same content, we simply can use just standard HDMI splitters in that regard without necessarily having to put a receiver on the opposite side. Right? Because we have a large line of splitters, splitter extenders, right? That we can utilize traditional AV signal management products to help basically combine or use them as building blocks to build out complete systems. All of this with the same tried and true functionality, high reliability, right? And the ability, of course, to control all these. And a lot of our products also have audio breakout capabilities, as you'll see just by going to the website.
And by
All
the
right,
way,
so
too,
how does
hold on,
this?
Jason,
Yeah, go ahead.
we got a question here. Can each
Mm-hmm.
receiver have its own multi-viewer display? Which,
Oh, for multi-viewer, no. So this system is capable of singular display only. There is a multi-view system that is coming that is part of our IP500 line. So that's something that's coming up soon. In fact, if you'll be at Infocom, if you'll be at CEDIA, you'll see us there. You'll see this system actually in action using multi-viewing, video walling, etc. with our IP500 series. In fact, we'll also talk about the other side of this IP50 if we've got some time after this quick demo. All right, so we want to see how this system works. All right, no problem. We talked about it. In fact, it was even promoted today as a system being easy to set up, and it really is. So now let's go ahead and I'm going to switch on over to my screen here. Oh, can you guys see the interface? Yep, JD?
yes.
All right, perfect, beautiful. So now this assumes, of course, that network switch using our guides is already complete. You've made a couple of those checkmark boxes. You're pretty much ready to go. All you need to do at this point, especially if you're using a PoE switch, or if you're using that Netgear switch like I talked about, doesn't require any configuration, you pretty much then plug everything into the network. The ACM, the transmitters, receivers, and at that point, we're ready to go. And what you'll find is I noted 6 clicks, but in actuality, the real work is really only going to be done in a couple. So we're going to start off here. Here is the entry screen. It gives you a couple information. There's a step-by-step guide, of course, that you can use to see, how the system sets up, but it's really simple. We're just going ahead and click next. All right, and then it's just going to confirm that the switch has been configured. There's a handy link here that shows you where those setup guides are. So if you need that setup guide to set that up first, you'll go ahead and do that. So again, another superfluous click through to next, right? And here is we have the first thing that requires any type of, a discovery. So I'm going to hit start scan. Now what this is going to do is it's going to search out on my network for all the transmitters and receivers that it can find. So right now it's going to go ahead and seek out, transmitter 1 populated in here. And what I have today set up is a 2x2 system. So I have 2 transmitters and 2 receivers. Oh, well, look at that. It's already done, right? What it's done is it's gone out and found all the products and then configured them to static IP addresses. So the system is very robust, doesn't rely on DHCP, right? So we know, for example, the address of every unit, and there's a specific scheme to how everything sets up. But we won't dive into that today. Just know that, boom, we're done. In a matter of less than 30 seconds, I've found all my units. So I'm going to stop scanning and click on next. Now, those units, of course, when their IP is changed, they went through reboot cycle. So once everything's done rebooting, we can sit here and do some more advanced configuration. Is it necessary? No. So if you wanted to bypass this, you can just click next, and that's pretty much, we're done. But in this case, for example, we can set up EDID, right? So we can somewhat control the device as to what it's outputting. We can rename things. That's always a good idea, right? So I'm going to say this is going to be Bright Sign 1 because I have a Bright Sign player connected to this, right? We can rename transmitters. We can rename receivers. We also have the ability to set the output scaling resolution. That's right. The receivers have a scaler built in. So in cases where we're dealing with 4K as the incoming signal, and we know our display on the output is 1080p, we can set the output and scale that resolution down from 4K to 1080p. We also have the ability to scale up as well. So that scaler is built in and will automatically handle that conversion and frame rate in that case as well. In fact, my sources here, my 2 BrightSign players that I have connected are both running at 24 frames, and the output will be converted to, in this case, 1080p 60. There are a number of different options. Pass-through here is set up here as well, and pass-through, of course, will allow whatever's coming in to be set on the outside. Now, if I wanted to name these and I didn't know, for example, what might be playing on each source, right, I can click on the view button, and this will bring up a live thumbnail of the content that's playing on that transmitter. Right, so I know this is my Oceanic Bright Sign, so this is what I would potentially name it. If you need to find that unit in a rack, no problem. You can turn on this option here, which will flash the front panels of the front panel LEDs on this unit out in the field physically so you can find this unit. And of course, in that case, all this really just helps facilitate naming or finding these devices. Right, on the receiver side, we have the ability to flash that panel or show an on-screen product ID, which will basically show its assignment, 1 or 2, literally on screen from an OSD. But again, all of this is additional configuration. Do you really need to do it? No, you can set it to keep it on pass-through, and you click next, and that's it. That's really it. Now, I've talked for a little bit, for now a couple of minutes, but if you went through this process without all that and just clicked through, this system would have been up and running in a matter of 2 minutes, maybe less, actually, because it did find units obviously very quickly. You can back up the config, you can set up fixed routing, you can set up a video wall from here, but in all actuality, we can click finish and we're done. And this is that drag and drop interface, right? What we see here is that live frames on the input devices are being captured. And also on the output side, we can see obviously what's playing. And to switch sources is as simple as drag and dropping. That's it.
And of course, all this
right. And if I want to
touch on is all in stock at TechNet and available.
Yeah.
during this world of chip shortages is a big thing to have this product available. Jason, in lieu of time, you want to touch on the couple other products?
Yeah, we can talk about it. This is the drag and drop interface. I just wanted to show one more thing, just another cool little option here, just to show you guys also what else is really available with this system. Because I noted before that this is the interface for the ACM. This, what I'm showing on my computer screen, can be done from any browser, but there's applications, of course, on the Google Play Store and the iTunes or the App Store where you can download drag and drop, which is the name of the application, and that'll also give you that same experience or interface you can do on a phone or even on a tablet. In fact, on my phone right now, this is coming from my Galaxy Note 10, you'll see that this is what exactly is showing on my screen with the thumbnails that are very constantly refreshing to show you what's playing. And all you need to do to change sources from your phone is just to click and drag and drop. That's it. All right. And if you got video walls, you can manage your video walls from here as well. All that can be done. So here's the app. Here's the ACM, all that rolled in one. That is drag and drop. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. So we talked about drag and drop. Well, what else can drag and drop give us? Well, let's talk about that. Well, just recently, and I'm talking about in the last few weeks, we have released this guy, the IP50. The IP50 is an augmentation to our IP lineup that gives us, I don't want to call it the lower end, but another option for customers who are looking only for sourcing and routing 1080p video. Right? So this system, of course, has a lot of the similar functionality that we see here today that we've talked about for the IP200, right? Our 4K solution, right? It operates in either a 1-to-1 or matrix. So of course, from a mode standpoint, there is obviously going to be a differential, but matrixing is still primarily where it's going to be used. And you'll notice from looking at this unit, and I'm sure not everyone memorized what was on the other one, but it is nearly the same. In fact, on the transmitter side, we have an additional HDMI loop out. This really was designed for more commercial applications where we see 1080p more often used than we do, let's say, for even 4K, right? We have a 3-segment LCD display on this. All your IOs, most of your connectors here are being done over Phoenix connectors rather than RCA or 3.5 mil jacks. And on the receiver side, you'll notice here, again, very similar layout. Still KVM functionality as well. This system operates differently because it uses standardized H.265 or H.264. In fact, there are 2 streams that come out of this device. One at 1080p and one at 640 by 480, which means that sub stream or secondary stream can be used to populate interfaces in control systems, provided, of course, they can decode H.265, which is fairly common. We see that today. Right? There are a number of different modes for controlling bandwidth on this unit as well. So bandwidth is going to be a concern. We're talking about a gigabit using the IP200 series. This one consumes up to 20 megabits. So you can see there's a huge differential and the picture quality is excellent. In fact, at CEDIA, come and see it. You'll see exactly what that looks like, right? So how's this controlled? Using the same ACM, which means everything I just talked about, everything I just showed you, right? Through the interface, through the phone interface, through the panel, is going to be applicable to this product as well. It uses the same controller, so drag and drop. All that functionality is going to be there. Independent routing that we talked about, right? That's all going to be available in the same IP50 system.
Jason.
All right. So we're going to move on. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, no, as I say, yeah, I'll do the AMF41, but real quick question. When someone asks, can you push the transmitter out through a firewall to a public IP and receive at another public IP?
If through multicast, yeah, technically it's possible. It's the amount of bandwidth that I'm concerned about, though, when sending it across that system. When we've seen systems cross, into the wide area network realm, But honestly, with the amount of bandwidth consuming, if you have that ability, yeah, you could technically push it out. I'd say that's more applicable to the IP50 because of the bandwidth consumption that we have, in which case you should be able to push it out. And we can give you a listing of all the protocols, and there is a lot of stuff in the background that happens in terms of UDP and some other protocols that help keep the units in sync, and also lets the devices communicate with each other on these using these other protocols and these different ports, so they can communicate, so they know what's on the network, who's on the network, and what they're doing. Right? And we pick up on that in the controller. So as long as we can forward those ports and give outside access to them from these units, you should be able to access them from an outside location. All right. But again, you have to be pretty open in that regard. We don't typically recommend it. It's technically a possibility. But in our case, like for the Olympics, where we ran this over fiber optic networks, technically it was its own closed system at that point, even though they were covering obviously a wide area. Okay, so we're going to switch gears here a little bit, and we're going to talk about this. So I wanted to talk about some of the more differentiating, innovative products from Blustream, and this is one of them. This is the AMF41W. So what does AMF41W stands for? It stands for Advanced Multi-Format 4x1, and the W stands for wireless, and that's what this is. There are a number of products within the Blustream lineup that cover presentation switchings, certainly covering the commercial and pro side. 3x1s, 4x2s, 11x2s, 7x2s. So there's quite a few presentation style products. However, our latest innovation on here gives us the ability to connect wirelessly in a conference room. Now, this unit hosts a number of different capabilities, right? In fact, there's a lot of it that's open, and we'll talk about those specifics. But really what you think about it, or what this is giving this ability in a conference room to either connect up using wired devices over HDMI, so that covers any devices that are sitting resident in a room. And I'll talk about conference room as an example, even though there's a ton of different applications for this. Then, of course, there's the wireless aspect. There's audio breakout. There is RS-232 control and capabilities. But what we're really getting in the heart of where a lot of the usage for this product is going to be from AirPlay and Miracast. Right? Using either one of those protocols, I can wirelessly connect, because that's what BYOD stands for, bring your own device, via AirPlay or Miracast to this device, up to 4. Right? So I can connect 4 devices wirelessly to this unit in terms of being able to share content, or up to 4 individual HDMI sources. But does this mean you're limited to 1? No. There is a multi-viewer built into this product. I can show up to 7 different sources on screen at the same time for any combination of those 4 BYOD sources or 4 of those HDMI sources. So up to 7 different configurations are possible to show at one time. Right? So we got multi-viewing, we got wirelessly connecting. Okay, great. Well, how do we do that? Well, here is the welcome screen. This shows up on your HDMI output on your screen. So when you walk into a room, conference room, huddle room, RV, we even talked about that kind of application, you will see this screen. Is the background customizable, Jason? Absolutely, it is, right? So this means for whatever organization or company you are installing this for, you can customize that background to show not Blustream. Although if you keep it Blustream, that would be awesome, but I know that's probably not going to happen. But with that background, you can change it and customize it for your client for that installation, and then that information showing you how to connect using AirPlay, Miracast, or even PC, because this is a built-in function in Windows, is being able to harness Miracast or Miracast over infrastructure. That's capable as well. So I can come in here, connect to the Wi-Fi, because there is a hotspot built into this device, as well as BYOD capability, or the ability to run inputs coming in from the network over LAN. So how does that work? Let's talk about use cases real quick. So with use cases, we have the ability to do a number of different ways or operating the system, right? And we'll talk about the most common leading down to probably the least common. And we'll start with the most common. You are connecting to existing network infrastructure. Again, a corporate office that has its own access points, that's got internet that's coming in. And in fact, your wireless devices, when you connect to that office network, will indeed then very likely give you internet access, right? In this case, the hotspot on our device is and should be disabled. However, you can still connect using that access point to connect to it, and then using BYOD, be able to share your content on screen, right? Using that BYOD connectivity. The second option, right, again, probably the one of the most common, is to use this device as a standalone BYOD device. In this case, the hotspot and BYOD are both enabled on this product. You can use this as standalone, put it in one or multiple areas, with each one being able to connect differently from one to the other. So you can have multiple of these running in different areas because it runs on 2.4 gigahertz. It runs also, you can switch it to 5 gigahertz band as well with full control over channel, or you can set it to auto, where it'll select the most appropriate channel to use in either one of those bands. Here again, using AirPlay and Miracast or the HDMI inputs to combine it all. One of the other more exciting ones as well, because we have a hotspot built in, if you've ever dealt or gone into, again, in a conference area where you have, or even an educator, let's say even in a higher education kind of example, the professor wants to come into his lectern and he wants to be able to share content on screen. He can do that wirelessly, but he needs internet access as well, because let's face it, we're all collaborating and gathering stuff and information from the internet. I need that connectivity. Perfect. If you have internet capable connection to this device over that port, you can use the hotspot ability in here to create your own hotspot to devices, right? I'm not talking about BYOD. That's separate. You can create a hotspot using this where anyone can connect to this, call it your guest network, and they can connect and gain wireless internet access. And when they want to share, they simply just run through the steps of enabling AirPlay or Miracast, then to share to that screen. So you've got a hotspot to share internet with, or local network if you need to, or you have the ability, you have the ability to do a BYOD or sharing content as well. Now, a little less to this, of course, this is using something called Miracast over infrastructure or AirPlay over infrastructure, where basically we can run the content over wired connection rather than doing it wirelessly. We still need to have the wireless enabled to detect that signal, but if, for example, with Windows, we'll detect, for example, it's possible to run it over Ethernet or wired connection, it will do so. And in which case, then you can connect wired then to the system to share your content as well. The last option, and probably the least used, is just to simply use this as a multi-viewer. Of course, the device is capable of 4K in and out, and the output, of course, will be at 4K at 60 hertz, 444, so it's no chroma subsampling on that output. That's full bandwidth in terms of being able to show what's on screen there, and you have a multi-viewer that has, in this case, you have up to 4, but of course, if you had the wireless, you have more than that, up to 7 different scenarios. And this BYOD, we've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people about it. In fact, in the UK right now, they're doing fantastically well. In fact, this is going into a lot of higher education installations, corporate conference rooms, huddle rooms, all those places where we're going to be able to harness the ability, the wide array of ability that the AMF41W can get you, right? And you have full control over that wireless signal, how it sets up BYOD passwords to even add another layer of security. All this is going to be also controllable then from an interface that has drag and drop capability as well. So when you want to switch content around your multi-view screens, you can do that. As well as automated switching capabilities and the ability to turn devices on and on. You see that RS-232 there in the back. This, like it is with a lot of Blustream products, especially our Matrix products, we also have something called the HD11 controller, which is basically an HDMI automated controller, gives us some functionality to control those devices. What we like to call it is like the setup. When you walk into a room to get set up, if you're in a lecture hall and you need to drop a projector or close the shades, we have that ability baked in. When this device receives an on signal or it turns itself on, it will send out either over RS-232 that you program in with commands to turn that display on, and to also, let's say, switch inputs, right? So that can be done automated from here. You don't need a separate control system to do that. And when this system shuts off, in other words, it goes into standby, you can set that time delay on when it goes into standby. When it doesn't detect an input or a signal, it will then turn itself off, and at the same time, it'll send a control over RS-232 or CEC, right, to turn that display off. In fact, CEC works for on and off, and RS-232 also works for on and off, so when the system turns down, it'll automatically shut off that display for you. So these automated functionality you'll find in a number of different Blustream products. How many Blustream products are we talking about? Well, we have a lot. Currently, right now, the product line stands at roughly about 86 products. We have an active roadmap of about 55 additional products that are in works in one form or another. In fact, we've got a lot of other exciting products that are on the way that cover a number of categories, such as these here, right? Multicast video over IP, HD-based T-Matrix products, all the way down to signal management, AV, what I like to call it PSD or problem-solving devices. These are all possible because Blustream, of course, has these solutions for you. With key solutions, we got some time left. Maybe we'll hold it in for questioning, but we have a custom Pro Matrix. I'll just go over some of these really quickly. That gives us the ability to create a custom matrix. You don't need IR, you don't need audio breakout, you don't specify these boards. And there's all sorts of input and output output boards. For those of you, for example, who are doing residential installations, a lot of it with audio ARC routing or audio requiring it to be routed back to the source, we have these recently released 8x8 and 6x6 matrix products, which give us HD-based T on the output at full bandwidth HDMI 2.0, so that's 18 gigabits per second, audio breakout and audio matrixing, where you can pull audio from the input, from the output, or from the remote location using HDMI ARC or an optical input that's on the receiver, all back in at an incredible price point, right, for 8x8 and 6x6. In fact, this is what the interface looks like on those two products. We have that controller, which I kind of had mentioned before, this HD11 CTRL or controller. It's an automated unit that we can use to trigger those things I talked about, turning on the display, shutting shades, dropping the projector, because there's relays on this device that you can use from an AV trigger. In other words, when I plug in a device in here, so if I walk into a conference room, plug in a device, or I walk into a conference room and turn on, let's say, the main computer that's there, it'll detect that as a trigger and then perform those actions, dropping the projector, closing the shades, or you can connect up a PIR sensor to this, right? And once a PIR sensor is connected to this, guess what? You walk into that room, it detects motion, it'll then run through those on macros then for you as well. All right, so there's quite a bit of products, extension products. I know we're running short on time, but there's a full array of products for HD-based T extension. This is our kind of our top end solution, the Hex 150CS, that gives us ARC and audio routing both forwards and backwards up to 150 meters for 1080p, 100 meters at 4K. All sorts of different. So I will stop it actually here because, you know, we could talk about products all day long, but know that Blustream video over IP is something we certainly take pride in, especially the products. And we've got that IP50 and soon to be that IP50 10 gig full 4K bandwidth solution that's coming out right around CEDIA timeframe. And then all of your other products that help facilitate your solutions. Switchers, splitters, extenders, matrices, all sorts.
Jason, can you pull up the slide with the audio adapters?
Yes, I can. I can absolutely do that. So this is a small taste of, again, I mentioned PSD earlier, and it's not Photoshop, I promise. What I mean to PSD is problem-solving device. That last 5 or 10% of completing a job, where you have a lot of cases, some kind of audio, either delay or you need to extend audio in some way. We have a number of these products, right? These small form factor devices that are D to A's, A to D's, even down mixing capability, right? A lot of times it's very common where we need to down mix from 5.1 to a 2-channel stereo audio, you know, those products exist as well with HDMI, without HDMI, right? We also have a passive 2-channel analog audio extender. In other words, I can passively send, in fact, that's what, nope, this is the wrong, that's not that product, but basically 2 channels of analog audio input, we can passively send up to 500 meters away passively using RCA, right? Or if we need to digitally extend audio, right? And also convert it. We have this device here, which is the Cat 100 AU, that'll take optical or coaxial digital audio up to 5.1, right, DTS or Dolby, and send this across you know, 100 meters of cabling, and then also convert to analog audio as well in a singular product. So again, at that last 5%, right, that last leg of the race, you need to solve a problem. This is where Blustream comes in with all these products. Audio delay, no problem. That's what this device is right here. You need to introduce an audio delay because, let's say, for example, you've got a lot of devices in a chain, or your display, for example, you've broken out audio at the source and you're feeding it into an audio matrix, but your TV inherently is adding some delay to this and you want to account for that. You can set this to a particular display anywhere from 50 milliseconds to 1,000 milliseconds, or you can even attenuate that volume as well from 0 dB to negative 75 dB. Right? So all these little boxes, in addition to all the other products in Blustream's line, really help you complete a solution. And that's what Blustream is. At the end of the day, Blustream is a solutions provider. And that's what we're here for. Oh, JD?
Greg? I think you're muted, Greg.
Oh, I am. Thank you very much, Jason. And Jason, we can open it up to any other questions if anybody has any.
Why RCA connectors?
As opposed to, well, Well, let's put it back a little bit. Bluestream's heritage primarily previously was in started out in residential products. In fact, a lot of products still carry RCA connectors on them. However, what you'll see is some of the latest innovations, some of the other products that we have recently are all integrating Phoenix connectors on these as well for balanced and unbalanced connectivity. So, for example, if we look at some of our more, I would consider them more pro products like the AMF42. Let me grab it up and show it on screen here. Clearly, I don't have enough slides. But let's see. 42.
On that particular audio adapter, that's just one of those little popcorn pieces that gets added, and especially the delay and the volume adjustment. That's something that really started to be more in demand since HDMI and the delay. So that's kind of a
yeah.
It's funny because it's not a big huge solution, but it's a growing solution due to the delay world of HDMI.
Yeah, we have, for example, on a lot of our other products that are geared more towards commercial pro applications, we'll have things like audio. I mean, our Dante solutions, which we haven't even had a chance to talk about Dante, and there's some great Dante and video over IP products that are coming soon as well. However, you'll see that will carry, of course, standard Phoenix connectors. It'll handle balanced or unbalanced audio on those connectors. The IP50 we saw a little earlier also carries Phoenix connectors.
Jason, a couple more questions. Back on the 4K receivers. Sure. Can you pick the content from different transmitters from the receiver or just from the controller? Is it possible to automate schedule content for the receivers?
Yeah, there isn't a scheduling function in the ACM. This would have to be done from an external control system, in which case, you could schedule it out and then just, of course, the command could be sent to the ACM then to perform that. But it's not inherently baked into the ACM, for example, for doing that. But yeah, it's certainly possible. So you can do it directly to the ACM. So let me just touch base on this real quick. The ACM, of course, is there's no video traffic passing through that controller. It's really just a facilitator in that regard. You could, in fact, if you wanted to, directly communicate with the devices on the video network to facilitate switching if you wanted to that way. There are no drivers for that, but it's certainly possible. There is an API for the units if you needed to do that. And that could be done over TCP if you wanted to. Technically, you can send an HTTP GET command and even do it, or post command, I'm sorry, and do something like that as well. But primarily the ACM is the control interface for us, in which case the drivers we have fit in well, and then I would use those technically if you wanted to perform a scheduling switch. I mean, that's common, right? So reception area in a corporate office, you maybe want to have some scheduling during the day, and at night you'll switch it maybe over to corporate messaging, and putting on a schedule is actually very smart.
So on that first question, can you pick content from the different transmitters from the receiver or from just a controller? Yes, you can. There on the unit, you can adjust that up or down for transmitter 1, transmitter 2, transmitter 3.
Yeah, I'll go back to the image here. You'll see on the receiver here that you'll notice that the receiver actually has a channel. You can manually select channels on this, which basically tells it what source to be routed to. But it is a true matrix in that regard. And in fact, it's a truer matrix in the sense that we can separate audio and video. So you can separately route, right, select differently for each receiver, a different transmitter, video, or even audio source. In fact, if I pull up the interface, which, let's see, I'll pull it right back up here for you guys to see it. You see independent or fixed signal routing. For my audio, I can select it to follow wherever the video is going, or I can say always link the audio to bright sign 1, always link it to transmitter 2, whatever that audio source is. Same thing for video. I can independently fix that route, or I can have it switchable like you see here, right? And this can be triggered externally, of course, from any kind of control system. And if you wanted to use it with anything that's not on our list, there's a full API available for that.
That routing is really good, especially on control of USB, because you have some customers who are doing security camera applications where you have PTZs, the pan tilt zoom. You want to have, if it's a casino or a hotel, or they have cameras in a closet, but they want to have a manager or 2 other people to have access to be able to pan tilt zoom with those cameras. You only want to give access to maybe a couple of users. You can adjust that user as far as USB and who gets to control it. One other question too, Jason, AMF41, can you control who is sharing the screen?
You can control who is sharing the screen. So when, by the default, the system has an auto switching capability. So when you log on to the system or you BYO'd into the screen, it will configure itself obviously into its own window, and the layout switches. So if you're on a singular screen, someone connects via BYOD, it'll split to 2. And then you see 2 people on screen. You can, of course, if you have multiple people connected, freely route. I don't have an image here, but you can drag and drop because we love drag and drop, right? From the same web interface, right? We have a web interface on that unit as well. You can drag and drop and change who's assigned to each window and control it that way. In fact, it is seamless switching. So within the input side, if you needed to switch for a live presentation scenario, you can seamlessly switch between sources on that screen. In addition to the fact that there's also a handy tool that when you do select a different layout, let's say again, a live event or scenario, you can then set your routes prior to executing it. So you can set up what's showing on each screen beforehand and then hitting the OK button, and then it'll switch the configuration and the window selection, as well as audio selection if you wanted to change as well. You can pre-set up that route, I'd say, or the window configuration, and then hit go there.
I think that's it. Any other questions?
I don't see any. Fantastic job by both of you guys. I really appreciate it. And as our customers can see, the Blustream line has got a host of features you're not really going to find in most other products we're carrying right now. They're super easy to integrate and configure and control. Thank you again for joining us today, and thanks to Jason Dominique and Jason Fitzgerald. As the one Jason mentioned, TechNec is your US distribution point for this. We're stocking several models. See your TechNec engineer, sales engineer for any more information. We'll also be posting this on our YouTube channel, the TechNec YouTube channel. So if you want to share it with your other colleagues, please feel free to do so.
And I want to thank you guys for participating in the questions today. Really good questions. So thank you all, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Love the questions. And if you get any more that come through, please feel free to forward it on to us. We'd be glad to help out. That's what we're here for.